And welcome to 1.8 Additional Costs for a House. This lesson we're going to look at some of the extra fees that you have to pay once you purchase your house. Most people know about the mortgage and all that stuff, but actually moving into a house can be quite expensive. We'll see that we could pay anywhere between $5 and maybe $8 to $10,000 in additional things that you might not think of. So let's take a look here. We have got our notes. When you buy a house, there are many additional costs that you run into before you can take possession of your new home. The provided chart allows you to keep track of all these costs, including taxes. I'll pull up the chart here. This is something that I pulled together myself. We have got the item, that's the additional cost. We have got the amount of the cost. We'll have to do taxes on it, and then that'll give us our total additional. So if we go back to our notes here, we can see that we've got taxes is a major part of this unit. We're going to have the PST, which in Manitoba right now is at 8%, and we'll have the GST, which is across Canada, which right now is at 5%. Provincial sales tax is on all products, so if you are buying a product in Manitoba, you must pay the 8%. For the GST, it's goods and services. Goods we can think of as products again, and services you can think of if someone is doing something for you. You may not be buying something off them, but if they are providing a service for you, you're going to add GST. So let's move down on our notes here. Basically what we have to do is we have to list the additional costs that we are incurring. We're going to calculate the taxes, whether it's GST, PST, or both, and then finally get our final cost. You'll see that there is a section of the form that allows you to show your work. There are really only three major tricking points that you might run into when doing additional costs. The first one is the interest adjustment. On an interest adjustment, we have no tax. So interest adjustment is when we have two mortgages, the mortgage on our old house and the mortgage on our new house. There's a good chance that there's going to be a slight overlap, in which case the bank will charge us a little bit of an interest adjustment. We don't calculate tax, one of the only things we do. Property taxes. We've already looked at property taxes being an annual amount. So when we come up to property taxes, we're only going to be responsible for the number of months we live in the house. For example, if our property taxes are, just to use a number here, $3,000, and we live in the house for, I don't know, 3 months, we're only responsible for 3 months of that $6,000. So what I have to do is I times our taxes by 3 and then divide by 12. 3 for the months, 12 is a full year. So when I do this, 3,000 times 3 divided by 12 is $750. I would only be required to pay $750 towards the property taxes if I moved in there in October, November, and December. The other one is the insurance. We've already looked at buying insurance for your house. Now, when you own a house previously, you've already paid the insurance company some money. Now, when you move into a new house, you're going to pay them a different amount. For our purposes, we'll say it's more. So if our new house, the insurance is more than our old, we have to pay the difference. But again, only for the months that are in our house. So for insurance, and again, I'm just going to make up some numbers here. If the old amount was $900 and the new amount is, say, $1,200, I would take the difference. So between that, I'd have to pay the insurance company $300 more. But because I'm only in there for 3 months, I'm going to again times it by 3, divide by 12, and I would owe the insurance company an extra $75. So for insurance, you have to realize that you've already paid some money. That gets credited to you. You're going to have to pay a little extra to get up to the new amount, but again, you're only responsible for the months you live in the house. So everything else is basically just about GST and PST, except we're going to have three very unique ideas. Let's go over an example. We've got the Baileys. Now the Baileys live in Dauphin and they're moving into Winnipeg. They've purchased a home for $180,000. Now you'll notice here this is additional cost. It's not including the price of the house. So this $180,000 is actually irrelevant for our assignment. So we do not include the price of a house in our assignment. But we keep moving on. We hire movers, $1,500 plus GST. Now, the question will tell us what to add GST or PST to. So in this case, it's only GST. The Bailey's possession date is June. So that's important to know how many months you're required to live in the house. Well, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. That means we're here for 7 months. So, as I just previously shown, we're responsible for 7/12 of the insurance, 7/12 of the property taxes. We've got lawyer. Now a lawyer is someone who will actually draw up the paperwork in order for you to legally change the title on the land. This one is $800 plus GST. An appraisal of the property. You want to make sure that you're paying fair market value, so it's $120 in GST. A survey to make sure all your buildings are on your property should be done at around $450 plus GST. Here's my interest adjustment because I am having the two properties. That's $440, no tax on that. We've got some annual property taxes of $1,750. Now, of course, they're only responsible for 7/12, so I'll circle that one just to make sure we keep that in our mind. Before moving, the Baileys want to do some improvements, so we've got some sod. And sod is just ready-made grass. It comes in rolls, you have dirt, you roll it over, and now you've got grass. That's $1,500 plus GST and PST, so we got to watch that one. They replaced the stove and refrigerator for two prices, and we've got GST and PST, but we're going to add a little slight idea here, that they're going to split the cost of the appliances with the Baileys. So you're going to have to add these together, do the GST and PST, but then split that amount because they're only going to pay for half. The old owners will pay the rest. The Baileys are doing drapes in the living room, and master bedroom and kitchen are painted. The Baileys will increase some homeowners insurance. Again, that's 7/12. You got the old premium and the new premium. They also have to pay for the phone hookup and the natural gas. So what is the total additional cost for the Baileys? Well, now we're going to go to that form. Now, unfortunately, my form's a little big, so we won't be able to look at the actual question as we do, but we'll try to do it as best we can. So, pull out the form. So we have the additional costs, we've got the item, the amount, and the taxes. So if we go through our example again, our first item is our mover. So I'm going to throw in the mover. Now the movers were $1,500, and the tax was our GST. Now GST again is 5%. GST on $1,500 is $75, for a grand total of $1,575. Move on to the next one, the lawyer. The lawyers are going to cost us $800. Now our lawyer charges GST, and the lawyer will collect $40 in GST for the grand total of $840. We had that appraisal done, and the appraisal cost us $120. There's GST on the appraisal of $6. So our total for the appraisal is $126. You will notice that I'm trying to line up my numbers properly, so my addition at the end is going to be much easier. We then went into a survey, and the survey was $450. On a survey, we do have some GST, which is $22.50. Our grand total for the survey is $472.50. We next have some interest adjustment. Now the interest adjustment is $440. There is no tax on that, so I'll just put a line through there. And the interest adjustment total is $440. Our next item is our taxes. Now our taxes were $17.50, but I'm only responsible for 7 months, so I'm going to times that by 7/12. There's no taxes on our property tax, so I cross it out. And the Baileys are responsible for $1,020.83 for our taxes. We are then going to lay down some sod. That's our grass. The sod cost us $1,500. Now on sod, it is both taxes. It's PST and it's GST. So 8% PST gives us $120, and 5% GST is $75. So the total for the sod was $16.95. After the sod comes the appliances. Now remember, this one was split between both the Baileys and the cellar. So we're going to take my $750. We are going to add $900. Then we will divide by 2 because we're responsible for half. So this becomes $825. But they're still responsible for both PST and GST. So of the $825, the Bailey's portion of the PST is $66, and the GST is $41.25. So my grand total for the Baileys is $932.25. We're then going to go hang some drapes, and the drapes cost $500. The drapes will have PST and GST. The PST in my drapes is $40, and the PST or GST on my drapes is $25, for a total of $565. We're going to get some painting done. So the painting was $350. Painting just has GST. The GST is $17.50 for a total of $367.50. Now we're going to look at that insurance, the property insurance. So the Bailey's new amount was $680. Their old amount, which I will subtract to get the difference, is $264. I'm then going to times this by 7/12, 7 months. There's no tax on this, so we get a total for the Bailey of $242.67. And our last one was the utilities. I'm going to combine them into one. It's the 65 and the 45, which is 110. We do have GST of 550. Total for the Baileys of 115.50. So now we've got all our items. We started with the mover, got our taxes in total, all the way down to our utilities. So the total for the Bailey's additional costs is $8,392.25. This does add up quite fast. Now there are a few things here that you may not have to do right away, such as the sod or the appliances or the drapes, but usually when somebody moves in, that's the time they think is best to do this type of stuff. So on top of the Bailey's purchase price, they would have to come up with $8,500 in order to meet all these additional costs before they can take possession. We can now turn to our assignment. I believe we have about 3 questions, and we have enough forms in our book to answer those.